There you go. Hey y'all, welcome back to S&E's Fishing. We're out here. I'm going to make two videos. One is going to be how to set up rigs, different types of rigs, and ways of casting. There's only three that I do. Water loading. Get this four, my bad. Water loading, road cast. Where you pull the line out as you're casting backwards, and we use a pull bunch line out and slide it through your fingers or through your hand as you bring it forward and backwards. I saw all that and different rig. This is for beginners. If you find this interesting, please leave in a comment and a thumbs up. And we're going to get started. Now, what I'm doing right now, you don't have to get that light little thing that you put the line through. Simply take your hand and pour in the line just to get it straightened out, so it don't have any little curves in it, little round pieces, any loops. Get it all straightened out by just tugging on it. Give it a little bit of bounce. Get it straightened out. Once you got it where it's straight like that, you're good to go. Alright, so first I'm going to talk about streamers. So streamers is a good, nice starting point on fishing if you like streamer fishing. Me personally would start off with the dry dropper. There are different ways of setting this up. So I can see I got the weight one in the front. I find it easier to put it that way. And I got it on the hook. You can put it on the back hook, put it right there. Sometimes this hook get in the way. Or you can put it on the line itself and loop the other line right there and have it go to the back. Sometimes that gets hung up too. Or you can do one single streamer or woolly booger.
So as y'all see, with streamer fishing, it's a lot of pull, and if you want to add a little action to it, you see I'm jerking the tip back. As I'm pulling the line in, I'm stripping the line is what they call it, stripping the line in. You can always change the pace, fast or slow, depending on the current. I'm in the fast current, so I could actually went slower if I wanted to, but I was catching fish doing it that pace, so I'm always obviously going to continue what's working. But you catch this just like you do a dry fly, so it has a lot more weight to it, so you gotta put a little bit more of a pull on the string before you go back the other way. But it is a good starter as you progress into fly fishing, and you can catch some fish that way. It's very useful, but just gotta replicate the color of what they want. For some reason at the beginning they liked something shiny, and then near the end of the day it was black, which typically if it's dark you want to use darker colors. But hopefully this helps and get y'all to understand more of streamer fishing.
Brownie! Come here, Brown. Thank you. Euro nymphing, y'all see me doing a couple of my other videos. This is the other one. So you have a smaller one on top with the heavier one on bottom. You want the heavy one on bottom so it keeps it straightened out. You don't want it vice versa, because this will just go where it goes, because this is your heavy one. So if something hits this, you won't feel it as much. So you always want it like that in the water. See how I got these little loops? You would want to tug on it and get it straightened out. See this one little tug, and look, it already straightened out some. And I didn't even do it that much. Just warm it up, give it a little tug, make sure there's no nicks in your line. There you go.
Alright, in Euro nymphing, you see you gotta keep the pole up. But the catching, it's a little bit tricky. You can do a forward backward cat to a point, but you can't really do that as well in tight areas. So as you're about to see here in a minute, I'm gonna pull it forward, water loading it. I'm gonna shoot it forward. I mess up here and took my hand off the string, put the slide through your hands. See how it went back, and I waited till it got in the water, then I shot it back forward again. I use that so I can get it out there farther. And all I'm using is literally the flies in the water, or technically the nymphs in the water, to kind of grip it in a way to water load it to shoot my line forward. It's a good technique, especially if you're a beginner. You can use it for streamers. You can also use it for Euro nymphing. And as you can see, the knot gets in my way a little bit when I'm casting, but as you can see, I keep my hand up. You want to try to keep it as straight as you can. Even the line, you can bounce it like a jig if you need to. That seemed to have worked. That little bit of movement I did got me a fish. But if you're getting into it, just remember, water loading is a good way to start.
Get back in there. Euro nymphing rods for beginners. I recommend a dry dropper. Dry dropper is a good starting point, and I'm about to put one on. I'll take that tag in and put it up. Make sure you throw your trash away, string included. If it's one tiny little piece of string like I bit off, that obviously ain't gonna hurt nothing, but try not to put line out. So let's talk about this. Like I said, make sure you get it all warmed up and poured out, which I did this several times. I have a ring on mine, as you can see, tiny little ring. I did not start off doing that. I used to take the tippet line. Once I get so far, make sure you pay attention to the depth, because it starts out thin, about 2 pounds, and it goes all the way up, depending on if you got a 4X, 3X, or whichever one you got, all the way up to 8 pounds, 10 pounds, or 12 pounds, depending on which one you got, or more. I'll put a ring after I use that section. I'll use it for the nymph, like this. And then I will tie the dry fly onto it until I get to the depth that's thicker than what I use for the dry fly. You get what I'm saying? So you always want stronger, a little bit weaker, and then the weakest line at the end, because if you get hung up at the end, it'll only snap that one. You lose only one lure and not two. That's not always the case. Sometimes you still lose both of them. That's an unfortunate thing to have happen. When I do dry flies or dry droppers or hopper dropper, same rig, I put a good section of line between me and my leader. Good section of tippet line, just so I can use up this line for a while I'm trying to figure out what they're eating, so I can change it up. Sometimes I use the dry fly just as an indicator, and that's what a good thing about dry dropper. It's like a 2-in-1 combo. Even if they're just hitting underneath, it makes a softer landing than using indicators. With these indicators are pretty nice to use if you want to use indicators. I would paint the top piece, the head piece of that white one, because when sun hit the top of the water, it does turn white. So see, I got a good little section going. Then I don't know. Usually you want to do that down there, try to see what they're eating, but since I know this area well, and I know it's not the best time to be doing dry flies, so they're cold out too, I'm just going to use it as an indicator. So I'm going to use this nice one. Nice size one right here. Not super big. I think it's a 16. It's pretty big for the winter time, but it could get hit. But like I said, I'm not even expecting to get a hit off of it. I'm just using it as an indicator for the most part. You can tie however you feel like you're comfortable with. Just make sure when you do whatever one you do, don't put too much, don't grab right here too much, because you will slide this back and it'll mess up the fly. So do be careful when you slide stuff back. Have a firm grip. I'll hook it to something and slide it back that way. That did not want to go back and put a nick in the line. Is it bad? No. Okay. I put a 3x tippet line on this. I could have went to 4 if I wanted to. I like to go at least 2 sizes bigger than what I put underneath. Typically, not always the case, because I know this is either 1.5 or 5x, which I'll show you in a second once I put it on there. This is the same one I had last time I went fishing. I just put it on my vest. Vest has a little much point right here. I had to put it there. Same with those. So I could just keep reusing the same line if it ain't got no nicks in it or wore down. Which I know this one hasn't been used all that much. What I'm doing, I'm using a uni knot. You can do what you want. You can use a clench knot, improved clench knot. But a uni knot is a sliding. See how it slides? You put moisture on the line so it doesn't mess up the line. That's who I have. That then, all you do, put it on the hook. Make sure you don't get none of your tails in it. Tighten it up. And once you got it tight, I leave just a little bit tag in. I mean, just a tad bit of a tag in. See, it's a tiny tag in. That's all I put on there. Not much, just because it's gonna clench down a little bit more. All right, so you typically want the back end between the dry fly and the nymph. This one's a little short. I'm using line I already had, so I'm gonna use it up. You typically want 18 inches. Now, if you're in shallow areas, you obviously want it shorter because you don't want it dragging the bottom because it'll just pull your dry fly down. So, I'm going to. Also, you can only use lightweight nymphs because it'll just pull your dry fly down if you use anything too heavy. You want to use something heavy, you would want to use an indicator. 2, 3, 6. Now, when you're using thinner line, you really gotta make sure you don't heat that line up. I grab the bead. Tighten it down, sense it down. Don't pull too hard on the bead, move to the back, or hook it to something, tighten it down, because you do not want to slide any of the material down. I have done that. Need just a tiny bit of a tag in, tiny one. And that's it. This is lightweight. And see, this will dang down like that. This will land on top. This will go down, get close to the bottom as you can without hitting it. And it'll just drift through, and hopefully a fish comes up and hits it.
Alright, now we're going to do dry dropper rig in action. I wanted to point something out while I was watching this video. When you dry drop, you see how I mend that line? I didn't do a good job mending it. I couldn't keep mending it, and bam, there I missed a fish because the line wasn't mending. And if I kept on mending it too much, the fly would have sank because I was using a heavier nymph on that fly instead of using a bigger fly, or shrinking that nymph down because I knew that nymph was working. So it's like one of those moments where it works, but at the same time, you can't do too much with it. But just keep in mind that it's good to have different size stuff in your inventory. You want some small of the nymph you like and large ones. Same with the dry fly. You want some small ones and large ones because they was for the small fly and for that nymph. But if I would have got a smaller nymph for that same design, it probably would have made a better day. But overall, it was a great day. And you're about to see why I do catch one on the dry fly. Boom.
Whoa, did you see that?
So, it's definitely a
That freaking strike was insane.
good rounded technique.
That was
Like, you can't go wrong with dry fly and dry dropper, should I say. Because you get a dry fly for if something's
He didn't
around,
drop
bugs
one.
around that's on top of the water, and you get a nymph that's underneath the water. Just that's why I say it's definitely a good starter point. Well, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope they taught y'all a few different techniques and how to really start in fly fishing, what to look for. I also would say if you see
How fast
fish
that went?
barely
under?
rising, that's probably
Got 'em.
emergers. And if you see a lot of bugs
How fast
clearly
you
on
need
top
to
of the
be, even
water,
with streamer
that's when you
fishing.
really want to use dry fly
That's
the
how fast
most.
I needed to be
Um,
earlier, and I would've got a
But
bigger
with that
fish.
said, I am thinking about doing a day where I take 2 people out who either hasn't or is still on the beginning level of fly fishing, or just simply want to learn more. Like I said, I'm not an advanced fly fisherman myself, but I do know quite a bit and would like to get more people interested in fly fishing. So if that's something you think you want to do, please contact me in the comments and I'll get to it as soon as I can. If you got any comments or questions, please put it in the comments below. It really helps my channel, and I'm really trying to grow and try to do this more often to motivate people to do it. But with that said, I hope y'all a blessed day and tight lines.
I'll be with you in a second. Somehow I got tangled behind me. Anyways, good old rainbow.